Happy Friday. Wow, and look at this wonderful crowd. Yay for you. And right? And yay for this time of the semester. Look at all of us. I'm proud of you. I am Michelle Hirschberger, and I work with the Learning Outcomes Committee, which also works on forums. We do a forum every Friday to help nurture all of us, students, staff, and faculty, in our Heston College outcomes, which are just really good things that every adult needs. One of those outcomes is self-care. Now, you would think that self-care is a very easy outcome and that we should all be experts in this. But the funny thing is, we're not. So we have some important information to learn, to take in. Let's take care of ourselves. To help us with self-care is Kellory Blanchard. She is our campus counselor. And right now she's also studying at WSU, that's in Wichita, where she will graduate this late spring in clinical mental health and also with a degree in play therapy. I love that. I probably need some of that. She has 4 children, 2 dogs, 1 cat, 4 chickens. I have to look because it's almost a zoo. A turtle, 2 frogs, and I think around Christmas time, probably a partridge and a pear tree, too. Yeah. So please help me welcome Kellory as she comes and speaks with us.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to sit. You guys are sitting, so I'm going to sit. Here's the thing. Back in September, when I committed to doing this, I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I had a topic. I completely wrote it. I had it all planned out. It was going to be lots of good neuroscience. We were going to talk about happiness. And then I sit across from you and your friends almost every day. And what I've been noticing is that you're tired. You're really tired. You don't really know what's coming next, right? You're at the end of the semester. Some of you are graduating in the spring. You don't really know what you want to do. You kind of feel a little bit out of control sometimes. You're not sure if you have permission to rest right now because you have so much that you need to do and that you want to do. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back to basics. What I had originally sort of thought, self-care. So some of this, if you were here whenever I did the Habits Chapel, you've heard some of this. If you're my client, you've heard some of this, but it's good to repeat. And I'm going to talk about some new things too. And then I want to just share a story with you at the end. So self-care is one area of wellness that is probably talked about more than any other. It seems like a really accessible and sort of a fluffy and fun thing, right? Like when we think of self-care, oftentimes we think of what? Like a bubble bath and a face mask, or like eating tons of ice cream while you binge Netflix. But is that really self-care? Is that really what we're talking about? Not really. I want you to understand that the self-care that I'm going to talk about today are those habitual maintenance actions, right? Things that you do every day, things that you do often, things that you know will reset your routine. And they're different from a coping strategy. A coping strategy would be something that you do in response to stress, or when you feel like you're having, when you're in a rut, or you feel like you're in a stressful situation. But what I'm going to talk to you about today are things that you can be doing every day or most days. So my go-to whenever I was first learning about self-care was definitely the ice cream scenario. Then I realized I was defining treating myself as that, and it was only adding to my exhaustion. It was adding to my toxic inner dialogue, because you don't really feel that great after you do that, right? And even though there's room for that kind of a treat in your life, it shouldn't be your first line of defense. It can't be your first line of defense. And it needs to come from a place not of negativity, but of positivity and celebration. So self-care sometimes looks a lot like work. It's not always that feel-good, easy stuff. You have to be really intentional. If you're in a cycle of little to no self-care, then you've got to develop the new habits, and that's going to take effort and purposeful action. So this is the part you may have heard before. Habit training is absolutely necessary when we're talking about self-care. Those consistent behaviors act as the maintenance that you need during your wellness journey. And that's going to look different for each person. What I feel is self-care and what cares for me is not going to be the same as what Michelle feels. It's not going to be the same as McKenna. It might be something simple as remembering to drink water each day. It might be taking a shower each day. If you notice that one of the first things that kind of signal you that you're feeling unwell is that your personal hygiene starts to kind of suffer, then taking a shower each day, that's self-care. Choosing your clothes the night before so you're not rushing in the morning. If you're on a daily medication or a vitamin regimen, then it's certainly self-care to remember to take those each day. Think of things you already do. Just there in your seat, think of your routine. How do you begin your day? Do you wake up last minute, like 5 minutes before you have to be to your first class? What are important things you do in the morning, and how do you function if you miss one of those things? What about how you end your day? Do you just scroll TikTok for 3 hours and then fall asleep? Is that helpful? Are you getting the sleep you need that way? What's working and then what's missing? Set yourself up for success. Don't try to be too specific to where you back yourself into a corner. Be clear. So, for example, one of my daily self-care habits is simply move your body. Now, that's going to look different on a day that I don't feel well than it is on a day that I have lots of energy, or a day that I don't have time to do a workout, right? Just move my body. That gives me permission not only not to have to meet a really rigid goal, but to trust myself and know that I know what feels best for that day. So, along with these daily habits, you want things that you do regularly, about a week, once a week, every other week, something like that. You should have sort of a toolbox of things that intentionally support your whole person wellness that you're practicing with consistency. That can be almost anything as long as it's life-giving, as long as it's adding value to your life. So that can be things like having coffee with a friend that gives you energy, that energizes you, listening to music that you like. A lot of you do that every day. And then knowing how to reset and allowing yourself that reset is really important. It's easy to get into these unhealthy cycles, to fall into a rut. And if you don't practice that reset mindset, you create these unhealthy habits, and those become very difficult to break. So give yourself permission to gracefully start over. That can look like a social media fast, just unplugging for a weekend, going and getting your hair professionally done, like a professional shampoo, spending a weekend connecting outside with nature, going on a hike. Think of things you've done in the past that have made you think, oh, I feel like a new person. That's a pretty good clue that that might be a reset behavior for you. Listen to your body, listen to yourself. Enlist extra help if you need it. And this is important, especially as your campus counselor, I want you to hear this. There is a difference between just being in a rut and struggling with a pervasive mental illness. If you're experiencing symptoms of depression or any other mental health concern, seek professional help. And it's important to know that knowing when to ask for help and putting your health and your mental health first is the ultimate practice in self-care. So this is another thing that I talked about in the previous chapel. One of the most solid pieces of self-care advice is treat yourself the way you would your best friend. Do you guys remember who it is that you spend the most time around? It's you, yourself. If your best friend forgot an assignment, you wouldn't lay into them, right? You wouldn't tell them they're stupid or forgetful, or tell them, you probably can't even do it anyway. You should just give up, right? You wouldn't say that to your friend. You would encourage them. You'd be empathetic and kind. You would probably even think of ways to rally around them and help them find the help that they need. So if the same thing happens to you, how quickly do you do the first? It stands to reason, in my mind, that if you're wired to accept love in a specific way or language from other people, you'd probably benefit from using that same language when speaking love into your own life. So those of you that recognize this probably know I'm about to start talking about the love languages. Just like a quick show of hands if you're familiar with love languages and if you know what your love language is. Okay. So a lot of these are really intuitive. I think as I'll read through them, you'll go, oh yeah, that sounds like me, and that will probably be true. But if you're interested in taking the quiz, you can just Google 5 Love Languages quiz. It's free. It's pretty quick, like about 10 minutes. And it's a helpful tool. It's something that I have found to be useful working with clients. It's useful, of course, in my marriage. It's useful with my kids. So I'm going to talk to you about ways to apply your love language to self-care strategies specifically. So my love language is words of affirmation. Anybody else? Yeah. So that means we best feel love through words, actual words. Affirming, positive words, positive notes, conversation that's uplifting and encouraging. Basically, if you just tell us how awesome we are, we're going to love it. And then on the flip side then, hurtful words or really critical words can be particularly damaging. Here's another theory I have. This is not evidence-based, okay? But this makes sense to me, and I've seen it over and over again. I think that it's probably true that your love language is not only your best strategy towards self-care, it's also likely your most used weapon against yourself. So if you are words of affirmation, I wonder how your self-talk is. So here are some things that you can do. Choose an affirming mantra. You know what that is? Like, I'm worthy of receiving love, or I'm strong and capable. Affirming mantras to yourself and meditate on that. Repeat those things to yourself through the day. You can write them on sticky notes and stick them around your room. And again, watch your self-talk. This is so huge. If you best receive love through words of affirmation, but all day long, you are telling yourself how stupid, ugly, or boring you are, you will never feel loved by yourself, and you will never truly get to that beautiful place of feeling love for yourself. So you're losing on both sides. Practice that mantra. If you catch yourself in a self-deprecating conversation, take the perspective of your friend. Take the perspective of somebody outside of your body looking at you in that moment. Be a kind observer and speak to yourself the way you would to somebody struggling with the same situation. So the next love language is acts of service. Does anybody know if they speak acts of service? So my husband speaks acts of service. And that gets a little tricky because I think perhaps acts of service is opposite of words of affirmation in that they truly believe that actions speak louder than words. If that's your love language, you feel most loved if a friend or a significant other or somebody helps you with a task, takes it upon themselves to run an errand for you, You might feel unappreciated then if something that you've asked for help with is forgotten, or if you feel the weight of, say, cleaning your room, if you share with a roommate or an apartment, if you feel like the management of that is solely yours and you don't have help from others. So what can you do? Do something for yourself today that future you will thank you for. If your dishes are piling up or you need to do your laundry, give that as a gift to yourself and focus on the love you have for your future self as you accomplish that task. Try not to fall into the trap of resentment. Yeah, probably somebody should have helped you with that, but they didn't. This is the reality in the moment. See it as an opportunity to care for yourself instead and to nurture self-care as a life-giving practice. This one's, I think, probably fairly hard for acts of service people, but ask for help. Just go ahead and ask. If you feel overwhelmed with tasks at school, at work, with a roommate, ask for help. And then when they do help you, thank them. And thank yourself for putting your needs instead of your pride or fear first. You probably would have preferred that they would have just done it or you didn't have to ask. But again, there you are. There's radical self-love in being able to ask for help and for accepting that with a grateful heart. Receiving gifts is the third love language. Anybody receiving gifts? Nobody? Or maybe you don't know. Well, listen, maybe you'll say, oh, that sounds like me. So somebody with the love language of receiving gifts feels most loved when they receive a gift. There you go. Receiving gifts and giving gifts is kind of a common way that we show someone we love them, right? We do that for birthdays, we do that for celebrations. But if you are a true receiving gifts speaker, then it really is the thought that counts. It's not about the materialistic item or the lavishness of the gift. It's a signal that you are known, you're seen, you are heard, and thought of. And those things kind of hug the soul of a receiving gifts speaker. So if this is you, if there's room in your budget, and I know you all are probably operating on pretty strict budgets, but you can gift yourself something. It can be something small. Again, the extravagance of the gift doesn't matter. You can buy yourself flowers at the grocery store. Prepay for coffee for a week at your favorite coffee shop. If you have it in the budget, invest in yourself. Put money into your savings account. That will gift you mightily in the future. There's that future self again. And thank yourself each time you make a deposit. Give a gift. If your love language is receiving gifts, there's a good chance you also really enjoy giving gifts. Give someone a gift, enjoy their surprise and their happiness, and then receive that back as love. Quality time. Anybody? Lots of quality time. So quality time is a love language for which quality really does win over quantity. Intentional, attentive, probably phone-free time does more to speak love to a quality time speaker than a weekend trip away, which feels distant and hurried. Neglecting time and connection then is really hurtful to a quality time speaker. So how can you show yourself love if you speak quality time? Implement quality time, right? Implement a quiet time maybe in the morning. Spend time with yourself with no distractions. Turn off your TV. Put your phone away. Just be with yourself. Maybe you choose to meditate. Maybe you're journaling. Maybe you just want to listen to music. But make sure that you're checking in with yourself, that you're also implementing positive self-talk, because nobody wants to hang out with somebody who's not talking nice to them, right? Breathing and accepting the love that comes with giving yourself that full attention. Here's a big one, and I think this is probably universal even if you're not specifically a quality time person. Protect your schedule. I see this a lot with people who come and visit with me. Your schedule is rushed and busy every day. So then it's likely you're not feeling like you have that quality time with yourself or anybody, right? Allow yourself to say no to plans or to people who want to hang out with you. Free up that space and that time for life-giving interactions just with yourself or a chosen friend who gives you that energy or a loved one. Do something that you enjoy just because you love it, just because it's fun, not because it's productive. Some of you have heard me say it's still productive, the product just looks different. If you've been wanting to go play mini golf, now is your time. Today is your day. You don't need an excuse. You get to choose how you spend your time. Be proactive in planning the life you want. What about physical touch? Yeah, I think this is another big one that's kind of natural to us. We kind of understand that one. Physical touch speakers most feel loved when being given physical affection, and they're most connected when physically touching or being touched by another. A physical touch speaker then can feel ignored if they're rarely touched or they don't get hugs from friends or they can't be close to somebody. So, as a physical touch speaker, you can practice mindful meditation, you can practice body scan meditation, where you're closing your eyes, you're breathing, you're scanning your body from head to toe. You're connecting with your physical self. You're feeling how strong your body is. You can thank your body for movement, for space. You can hug yourself. It feels a little silly at first, but it's extremely powerful to those of you who are physical touch. You can hug yourself. You can put your hands at your heart or around your waist. It's important that you're feeding yourself food that feels good. If you always feel sleepy and low after you've eaten a particular meal, avoid that. If you find that the day after you eat a certain food you have stomach cramps or other ill effects, don't eat that. Bless your food, savor the meal slowly. Don't rush your meals. Be aware of the physical environment that you're creating. This is kind of big in my life. If those pants you're wearing are uncomfortable, don't wear them. No one's making you wear those pants. If that sweater is itchy, don't wear it. Clothe yourself in fabrics and styles that feel good. You guys don't have a lot of control over this right now, I don't assume, but as you move into apartments where you are furnishing them, invest in furniture that you like. You're going to be sitting in that chair for a long time. Sweep your floors or vacuum your floors so that the feeling of your floors on your feet feel good. Wear socks that are comfortable. Clean your room so you don't trip. Do you know how jarring it is for somebody that really speaks physical love and really needs that physical care to trip? That can be really triggering. Be mindful of the temperature in your room and make it comfortable. You can use your favorite lotion that smells really good to you or a massage oil. Give yourself a massage. Massage your feet and your legs and thank them for carrying you through life. Massage your hands and your arms and thank them for holding the ones you love. So with all 5 love languages, it's likely that you're wired to give love the same way you receive it. Remember to show love to those around you while you're on your self-care journey and cultivate that practice, then it will flow through all facets of your life. And when you're beginning to look for ways to love others, you'll feel more deserving of love in return. And when you actively love yourself with intention and effort, it will begin to be a habit. And you'll be in this really beautiful cycle of loving yourself and loving others and receiving love from others. So finally, I want you to hear me when I say while these self-care strategies seem a little foreign to some of us, and they sound like they're going to take a lot of work, you are worth the work. You are worth the effort that it's going to take. You won't regret the time it takes. You won't regret the effort it takes. It's time to put yourself in the front of the line, and I'm going to leave you with a story to explain a little bit more of what I mean when I'm saying put yourself in front of the line. This is a story about me. As an elementary school student, few activities were more anxiety-ridden for me than PE class. Ooh. I much preferred art class. The soft smell of paint wafting through the air. I loved reading group, where my reading buddy and I sat on big bean bags, and I was rewarded with Jolly Ranchers after I read our chapters. I competed in writing contests and the spelling bee. That was me. At recess, I enjoyed the mural map of the world that we had on the blacktop on the playground. I would hop on it. Like, look at me, guys. I can walk from America to Australia. I'm walking on the water. That was me, okay? I was like the coolest. I occasionally liked to swing at recess, but absolutely never jumped off in midair. No way. Really, the only day I remotely remember enjoying in PE was parachute day. Do you know the one? And don't even get me started on dodgeball day. No. A close second to dodgeball day was walking into the gym to see jump ropes scattered on the wood floor. Individual jump ropes, okay. I could take my jump rope over to a spot by myself in the back of the gym, and I could just leisurely jump until the bell rang and get through it. But sometimes, as we walked into the room further and further to claim our jump rope, I would see it. 2 long jump ropes, interwoven and ready. They were set in place and ready for double dutch. You know double dutch? Oh my gosh. Yeah, just as I felt I had mastered a basic level of competency in jumping rope just on my own, the PE teacher throws in partner jumping with not 1, but 2 ropes. So 2 excited students, it's never failed. There were 2 that were like, yeah, they're going to volunteer to be the rope turners. And then other students were instructed to line up behind one of the 2 rope turners and await their turn. So I would always try to get in the back of the line. And I would think maybe the bell would ring and spare me humiliation. But the bell didn't ring in time, and pretty soon I'm at the front of the line. The girl in front of me takes her turn, and I'm next, and panic sets in. If you've ever jumped double dutch, you know that you have to start off by standing off to the side and watching. You watch the ropes hit the ground, and you try to learn the rhythm of the turns. You take just a few seconds to try to get in the same rhythm, and then once you think you've got it, you just have to go for it. If you hesitate, you interrupt the rhythm, right? The rope will hit you, and the game ends. If you misjudge it or you run in too soon, same thing, game over. To a nervous, insecure 3rd grader, that was a fate worse than death. What if it hits me in the head? Was that gonna hurt? What if it hits me in the ankles and wraps around my feet and then I trip? What if I can't jump high enough? What if I look funny while I'm jumping? If I mess up, it will be my fault and only my fault. The rope turners are really good at this, and they'll be mad at me if I mess up their game. Those few seconds before we take our turn are some of the hardest we put ourselves through. We fill ourselves with doubt. We doubt our abilities. We worry we don't have the timing right. We're afraid what other people are going to think. We're quick to inflate other people's performance and even quicker to diminish our own. All the while, the ropes are still turning. So I took my turn. I counted until I had the rhythm. 1, hit, 2, hit, 3, and I went for it. I ran right into the middle of the double dutch, and I bet you can guess what happened. I did not get it right. The ropes hit me in the shoulder and the game stopped. I was told to move to the back of the line. Do you know what else happened? The game went on. The rope turners started back up, the line moved forward, and I was back in line unscathed. On my next turn, I made it to the middle of the double dutch and I got in 3 jumps. 3 whole jumps. By the time I realized I was on jump 2.5, I was so excited I started to speed up, so then I only barely got in that 3rd jump before I tripped up the ropes again. And then I got back in line. By the time we were done with our jump rope unit in PE class, I was fine at double dutch. I couldn't do any of the fancy tricks, but I could get into the jump several times, and then exit the jump on the other side. How many times have I stood off to the side, measuring, counting, frozen, and doubting? What have I kept myself from doing because I was too busy second-guessing, not confident enough to do anything but put myself in the back of the line? It's time for you to go for it. Run with confidence and boldness right into the middle of the dueling ropes. You might get hit in the shoulder. You might get 3 jumps in. Or you might jump and jump and jump and exit on your own terms. Either way, you end up back in line, and the bell eventually rings. Thank you all for having me today.